Hey guys, it's Tim Wood from Alliance Gold and Alliance Wrestling's The Other Alliance Guys, asking you to support us, alliance-wrestling.com, and the Alliance family as we ask William P. Corrigan and the National Wrestling Alliance to restore the NWA Hall of Fame. You know, the Hall of Fame has inducted some of wrestling's greatest personalities. The honored include legends of the sport like Lou Thesz, Harley Race, Sam Muchnick, Dory Funk Sr., Jr., and Terry Funk, Gordon Soley, Ric Flair, Buddy Rogers, Dusty Rhodes, Wahoo McDaniel, Ricky Dozan, Ricky Steamboat, Bobo Brazil, Jim Ross. There's a number of great names on that list. But since 2017, the NWA Hall of Fame has lain dormant, meaning there's no inductees during the Lightning One era. We know that the NWA of today stands for history, legacy, and tradition. Mr. William Patrick Corrigan and the management, staff, and talent of the NWA carry the torch of professional wrestling's oldest organization, which was originally established back in 1948. As the flag bearers of wrestling history, they've done an admirable job in keeping the tradition alive through the fabulous programs, pay-per-views, and events over the last several years. We love this company, both for what it's meant in wrestling's past and what it means for wrestling's future. And we want to see its legends honored. It's with this supportive attitude that we, the fans and supporters and cheerleaders of the NWA, ask Mr. Corrigan and the NWA to restore the National Wrestling Alliance Hall of Fame to prominence. What would be a greater side attraction to the NWA's 76th anniversary show in 2024 than honoring the greatest of yesteryear once more? The Alliance Wrestling family, established in 2005 and perhaps the most ardent group of NWA supporters today, is proud to lead this petition to cheer our friends on in the National Wrestling Alliance towards restoring the hall, where history lives and legends are born.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Rules?
There are no rules.
What rules?
This is a revolution, damn it.
You'll hear things you've never heard before.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And what can we tell you? We are the Other Alliance Guys. Presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and entertainment and information for the National Wrestling Alliance, United Wrestling Network, and various independents around the world. My name is Tim. I go by Alliance Gold, and I am joined by my six-man tag team, if you will, my trios tag partners in pod. This is Jeremy. This is Dave. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Did you guys have a good holiday? Merry Christmas?
Yeah. Made it through the holidays. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, you were working. That's crazy. Yep. Yeah. Well, we all gotta do what we gotta do. I had a great one myself with family and friends and traveling all over the province of Ontario. We got a lot to get to tonight, but lots of people in the chat or who have come here earlier in the day. Media Mike, Money Mike, Demonetized Mike. He might not be here right now, but he's having a good time in Jersey, joking around. Willie Bowen's here. The Tyrus joke to end the year. His new job is Santa's sleigh. Just rolling hard against Tyrus. Look, hey Willie, I got something for you. You know, Tyrus couldn't be world champion anymore, so they had to have a special belt made for him, my friend. There you go.
Oh, wow.
You guys ever seen that thing before?
No.
The Supercontinent Championship. Yeah, some guy had that custom made. I saw it online. I had to bring it up for Willie.
Wow.
Oh, man. Lou's here, my buddy Lou. Good to have you here, my friend. Lots of people in the chat. Noob is here. Good to see you, Noob. Retro's here, and Eric Dale's here, and yeah, man, we got all kinds of people here. So speak up in the chat. Let us know that you're present. We got lots to talk about today, and the pie eating championship for Tyrus. Willie says, well. We're going to talk about a few things. I think recently we've always liked to start off by talking about a few of the good things the NWA has done, and then going through some of those events, which we have some matches we can talk about that are lined up for NWA Paranoia in January on the 13th that have been booked already. And we're going to touch on the Major League Wrestling event for Holiday Rush. Did you guys watch Holiday Rush on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I missed it. Was it good?
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear the ending was killer, so I'm happy to talk about that one with you in a few minutes. We'll touch on the highlights and lowlights of Powerrr from last night, and then sort of our main topic outside of the two specialty features we have with Championship Wrestling from Jeremy and I Respect You Booker Man from Dave. It's about the NWA TV title, both the men's and the women's, and how there's a title versus title match for Paranoia between the NWA World's Television Champion Mims and the NWA Women's World, I said television, Women's World Television Champion Max the Impaler. Both who I'm big fans of, but there's a lot of thoughts out there amongst the NWA fam, and I'm sure we'll all be sharing them in the chat tonight. Retro's the first up. TV title versus TV title sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I can't put that one up, Willie. Come on, buddy. So we'll try to pack that into the next 90 minutes, but let's start off with just like we've been doing with some of the awesome things that have been going on, and probably the last time we'll talk about this. I haven't seen it yet, but the Iron Claw came out on the 20s, actually I think about a day before in some cities, with Jeremy Allen White and Zac Efron, the Von Erichs movie, The Iron Claw. Mm-hmm. While some of our own have kind of said, I've heard 2.5 stars was the best so far. Guys, or one, I think Jaden said 1 or 1.5 stars because, we're obviously going to be more purist as wrestling fans than most viewers. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when a whole child is cut out of and their tragic end is cut out of that story, it's a bit odd. On Rotten Tomatoes, so far 92% from the audience score. Even the critics like it on Rotten Tomatoes, which is interesting. I'm a little surprised that it went that high. Either you guys seen it yet?
No.
I went and saw it Saturday.
And
I mean, it's one of these things that as a wrestling fan, I was even more critical of it. But I mean, if you're going in there looking for everything's 100% true, this and this, it's not. It's all based on a true story. I'd say probably about 75% of it is close to what happened. But there's so much in that family that happened that was just bad. Yeah. It was bad for them and bad for the followers of world-class wrestling and fans of the Von Erichs. So it's one of these things of, if you watch it, you just have to look at it and go, this is the best they could do with what they had.
Right. I kind of felt that way, I've always loved as a kid, like fantasy and sci-fi, material, books and movies and the whole bit. And I was a big Lord of the Rings guy. And when those came out, they cut a lot of stuff out, right? Even though they had 3 movies, and they changed a few things around to kind of make it flow a little better. And if you're a purist for some of this stuff like this, you might be disappointed. But you kind of have to see, like you're saying, it sort of has to work, right?
I mean, it's one of these things of they're doing a movie and it was just over 2 hours. It could have been roughly around 3 hours if they would have had everything in there. And I think that would have, it went pretty quick, but a 3-hour movie is still a 3-hour movie. It could have drug out a little too much in telling the whole story. I see why they went with a movie rather than doing a mini series or a Netflix series. But I would have liked to maybe seen 6 to 8 episodes where it's stretched out and they tell a little bit of this, and then they have a flashback series, a flashback that retells what happened as you're looking back. But it's one of these things, I mean, I'd give it maybe a 2.5 out of 4 stars. It wasn't bad, but it's all how it's looked at if you're a fan of wrestling.
Right. Well, it's doing real well, I guess, with a score like that. So that's good to see.
I mean, I'm hoping it helps people open up their eyes and go, oh wow, wrestling. Oh wow, these guys were on AEW, or their brother used to wrestle for WWF. Let me check out some stuff on Peacock.
Right.
Hopefully it gets some older fans or even newer fans to look back on what really happened back then.
Right.
And I mean, you can open up a bunch of rabbit holes on YouTube on it.
Yeah, and I think lots of people do that, including this guy. I'll see something, in a movie or TV or online and go, "What's that all about?" and go look it up. But I guess the topic of the hour, which is one we'll get to again in a bit, guys. But keep it up, please. Sorry, I should go back here first. Max already got. Sam says 7 wins. How's that going to work? We'll talk about that. Eric Dale says, I'm an NWA lifer, but I don't like the idea of merging a men's and women's title, which is what I'm afraid of myself. Although we were just talking before the show, and maybe there's ways to not do that and to just maybe defend both at the same time. But how would that work if it were Mims? Noob says, I believe that match is going to be wasted potentially even for the rest of the women's division in the NWA. It's a waste of a title. There's lots of women in the NWA women's division that deserve to hold the NWA women's TV, like Natalia Markova or Tiffany Nieves, but this match will upset fans of women's wrestling. I think that it's, and Retro agrees, I think that it's already upsetting a ton of people on Twitter, at least right now, Jeremy. Like everyone I look at, the NWA or Joe Galley post this match, and I just went through the comments, and it was just, they were visceral. They were like, what is this? Before we get into it in a little bit, any initial thoughts that came to mind for you, Jeremy, when this got announced?
After the build that we've seen Mims go through over the past couple of years, to see him finally get the title and potentially have it yanked away from him so soon is disheartening.
Right. Hello to the boss. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Hope we get to do the whole Alliance show maybe next week, right after New Year's. That just couldn't swing it this year. So that'd be awesome to do in the new year. Maybe we can do the year in review. But I agree, man. Like Jeremy, if that's what ends up happening, I don't know. I don't know how you book yourself into this and get out of it satisfactorily for the majority of your fan base. But as I say, we'll talk about it. So the Iron Claw, that's one of the positive things. We doing well. They got the obviously NWA Paranoia coming up in January 13th. We'll go through some of those matches. The same day, you've got, I got to get a better graphic. The NWA and Coastal Championship Wrestling have Viva Revolution in Florida. Two shows in one day, plus TV tapings for Powerrr and the day following in Tampa. So a very, very busy middle of January for the NWA. And then, of course, we've been advertising this one. The Crossfire Wrestling, the Page Sisters promotion, will be off the hook. Will be going live in Seaverville, Indiana. Is that what it is? Or Tennessee? It's Tennessee, right? Tennessee, yeah. And where Kylie and Ella will be defending the Women's World Tag Team Championship against Roxy and Brittany Jade. That's fun. Good to see lots of things that are happening. But I want to touch first, if we can. We don't. We've kind of gotten a little bit away from MLW, but they did have Holiday Rush on the 24th, Christmas Eve, live on YouTube, like we were telling you, and you guys watched it. But maybe we'll just touch on some of the matches as we go, and kind of maybe give me your thoughts. There was a 6-man scramble match where Akira defeated Alex Price, Love Doug, Nolo Catano, Brett Ryan Goslin, and Jay Bougie. Oh, I haven't seen Jay Bougie in a long time, actually. But I haven't been watching MLW regularly. How'd that one go? How about you, Jeremy? What'd you think of that one?
I liked the pacing of it. It felt longer than what it actually went, and that's a good thing for me. I liked how they worked in Love Doug and Brett Ryan Gosling's story line into it. Brett Ryan Gosling is Becca's boyfriend, and Love Doug is obsessed with Becca, so they were able to incorporate that in there nicely. All in all, at the end, Akira gave a nice little speech to the crowd about the calling, and I felt that he was the right one to win for it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, he ends up winning with an elevated reverse DDT on Alex Price, but I guess at the end, Ricky Shane Page came out with the calling and kind of took care of business.
Yeah.
Akira was still standing in the ring though at the end of it. He was being held back by officials and such. So
nice. You had Zeta Dave with Mr. Saint Laurent defeating Tiara James and Notorious Mimi. Zeta uses, I think it's an unprettier. The I'm pretty or something that she calls it.
I'm prettier. Yeah.
I'm prettier. That's funny. On Tiara James and gets the pin. Was it a good match?
To me, it was. I don't like 3-way matches, but for what it was a good match. It was building up Zeta. She's the newest member of the WTF, the World Titan Federation. So it's giving her a win. They're going to hopefully build her up to go after the title, but it's one of these things of the women they use very well. They don't have a big roster of women, but the ones they have, they use them well.
Yeah.
And they insert them when needed, and they'll be there for a couple events. Then somebody new will come in, or somebody from Japan will come in, or CMLL will come in. They do very well interchanging the female roster while trying to build up a couple of their own talents.
Right. In fact, I don't know if there's another company that uses their women better outside of probably the WWE. I don't watch that, but I imagine it's pretty pretty honed up there. Josh Bishop with MSL defeating Matthew Justice Jeremy with a table set up in the corner and getting the pinfall after that. I thought Justice was going to be in the tag match, but I guess that wasn't the case.
I was thinking that too. One of the things that got me about this match was, and looking at the two guys, if I didn't have good vision and I didn't know what I was watching, I could have swore that I was watching a Sid Vicious versus Bradshaw match.
Yep.
Wow.
Both men had very similar styles to each person. Very hard hitting, just two big beefy guys knocking the hell out of each other. And even after the match, it wasn't done. I enjoyed it. It was very well put together, and I'm interested to see where this goes moving forward, because I don't think this one's done yet.
Yeah.
I got to get my act together. Just hanging out with family instead of watching this show like I should have been.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, exactly. I should know better. No, my family was great. This is probably one of the best Christmases I've had in a long, long time. So
awesome.
Tony Deppen, who I quite like, with Griffin McCoy and TJ Crawford, while he defeated Kevin Blackwood. I think it was an exposed turnbuckle, rolled them up. But Richard Holiday, a well-spoken independent on the I mean to say that everyone's talking about Richard Holiday being a free agent recently, got involved in this one, guys. How did it go down? Dave, yeah, go ahead, Dave. Back and forth.
I mean, with this match, it's Holiday made his presence known. Tony Deppen is just a very good wrestler, and they paired him with a couple of other young underlings, and it's basically gang mentality that everybody is siding up with 2, 3, 4 people, and it's almost gang warfare back when, I think it was before they were WWE, when it was WWF, when you had, the Los Barawiquas,
yeah,
all the different
Nation of Domination, yeah.
And it's one of these things of, we win by any means necessary. And I mean, like you had mentioned, with WTF, St. Laurent, he had interference in that match to help Josh Bishop win.
Right.
But Tony Deppen, it was basically Kevin Blackwood was outnumbered. Anywhere he turned, there was somebody there. So he couldn't get the wheels under him. He couldn't get traction.
Right.
And this is one of those things that it's building a story of, okay, certain wrestlers can't go it alone, so they're going to have to form an alliance with other wrestlers, whether they want to or not, if they want to get anywhere. And I like what they're doing is they're using some established talent to help the newer talent rise. And it's one of these things of, it's all a numbers game. And it seems in almost every match, there's interference, whether it's seen or not seen. It's a numbers game that you have to pivot and adjust, or you'll be left in the dust.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like that's it does seem to be the way of things over in MLW currently. But you got Wasted Youth Jeremy defeating the main event and the team of Griffin McCoy and TJ Crawford. They're going to get shots at the MLW World Tag Team titles out of this. That's pretty cool. How'd you like the match?
I liked it all right. I wasn't familiar with either team really. but I enjoyed what I saw. The Wasted Youth, I like their gimmick. The fact that one goes by the last name of McKay and the other one the last name of Mathers automatically made me think of Ian McKay, Fugazi, and Marshall Mathers, Eminem.
Right.
And then the main event, I was surprised by them. They're quite athletic. Very well done match. I enjoyed it.
Pollo Del Mar, the manager of champions, champion of managers, welcome. Always a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for stopping in. Dave, as we get through the last three matches we have here, Ichiban, Rick Del Santos, at least his son's favorite wrestler, one of Rick's, I think, too, defeated Selena De La Renta, who had seemingly everybody in her corner, but wins by disqualification after Selena sprayed something in his eyes.
Yeah, it was Ichiban. Like I said, it's a numbers game. That in this match, I mean, Janai K, Rocky Romero, and Rodriguez. What's his name? Ricky Rodriguez.
Yeah.
But it's a numbers game. They were all running interference. Ichiban ended up getting the win. And granted, this is a intergender match, but this was done, I think, the correct way with a lot of outside interference. And then, I mean, if you look at it, it was sort of a wonky match. There was a disqualification. So Ichiban gets the win, but they ended up stealing his mask. And if you know anything about luchadors and their masks, this is going to be another one of those numbers games where Ichiban will have to have some backup.
Right.
And all of these wrestlers work really well together. And I'm looking forward to what happens next.
Pollo asks, what do you all think of... Oh, sorry. Pollo asks, what do you all think of the promoted match for Max at Paranoia? We're going to talk about it. That's all everybody wants to talk about right now. Maybe we'll move it up so we can get it over with quicker. But I think that's what everybody wants to talk about. We'll do that in a couple of minutes. Jeremy, you got Beaumont Fight Club, Mr. Tomics with the world champion Alex Kane. They defeated the Second Gear crew via disqualification. What went down on this one?
Honestly, I don't remember what went down on it. I was in awe of Good Brother number 3. Just how great of a talent that guy is.
Mass Good Brother number 3. Love it.
It for a second there, I could have sworn that it was possibly Mance Warner. That just doesn't make sense though, because he's gone. I figured that he probably just left all his gear behind. So Mass Good Brother number 3 just used the boots and such. Makes sense. Boomaye is for the people. I'm starting not to really. I'm starting to feel more like that's a just kind of like a political soundbite line more than an actuality. I don't feel that they're really for the people so much as they're for themselves.
How dare you, sir?
I know. I feel bad. I feel really bad for saying it, and it's just a feeling. It's not.
Are you questioning the integrity of the suplex assassin?
Not so much him as Mr. Thomas. How about that?
Oh, I'm with you on that one.
Okay.
And then in the main event, and what I'm super excited to go back and see is, I'm sure the match was great, Dave, but Jacob Fatu defeats Alex Hammerstone with his moonsault, his double spring moonsault thingy, to score the pinfall. And then MSL walks out on Hammerstone, and it's after the match what happens that I thought was the coolest thing probably on this show that I missed. Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, I'll get to Hammerstone, but Jacob Fatu, what that guy can do, to me, it's just amazing. He has size, he has strength, but the moves he does off the ropes, it's just amazing. And I mean, that guy, after every match, I'm surprised he's still able to walk.
Right.
Because, I mean, I go and see them almost on a monthly basis up in Philly. And, I mean, you see him after the show and he's hobbling, he's all iced up, but he's still there for the fans.
Yeah.
Now back to Alex Hammerstone. He was former MLW heavyweight champion.
The champ. Yeah.
He ended up asking for his release, got signed back to WTF. Mr. St. Laurent, he skedaddled after the match, and I really have no idea where Hammerstone is going or what he's doing in the new year. You look at the guy and you're like, man, he's just, he seems almost built for what the WWE was at one time. But he's had a few tryouts there. He was formerly in the Dynasty with MJF and Richard Holiday back in 2019, back in MLW. But he gave a from the heart. It wasn't, I mean, if it was a scripted speech, that guy can be on a soap opera any day.
Yeah, yeah.
But he spoke from the heart. He thanked everybody. He came in, they gave him a shot, and he was there through thick and thin. Whether he moves on or whether he stays, I'm not sure what's going to happen. But I mean, this was a great ending, and I'm glad they allowed it to happen. I don't know if it was planned. If it was, great. If it wasn't, I'm glad that they did the right thing and let him speak his truth.
Yeah, I hear Court Bauer came out, Jeremy.
He put over MLW and Court Bauer big.
That's great.
There were a lot of I don't remember, a year or so back or more, people were coming out and kind of doing the UWN thing where they, you get a handshake and a hot dog, and you go out there and you wrestle a 20-minute match.
Right.
And I felt in a lot of ways that he kind of put a stop to that. He pointed out how he was offered a contract, and then before that contract was even up, Court came to him and offered him 10 times as much, to stay. And that was a gamble that was took on somebody that was considered by WWE and Impact at the time too green. Just wasn't what they were looking for. Court Bauer took a shot on him, and it paid off in the long run.
Yeah.
It was it was like Dave said, if it was scripted, give this man an acting manager and get him on the screen somewhere.
I don't know how old the clip was, but very timely clip I saw just 2-3 days ago of someone interviewing MJF, his old Dynasty buddy, and they said, if you had a dream match, anyone in the world, active that you could face right now, who would it be? And he said, Alexander Hammerstone.
Yep. You
got to pay attention to Alexander Hammerstone.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if the reason he didn't re-sign is because he's, maybe headed AEW's way, and the chat, I would throw some more comments on about this, but the chat is right into both Camille and because James H. Jackson is here, and welcome, James.
Yep.
And they're talking about the contract there, but also Mims and Max the Impaler.
Yeah.
So, listen, maybe we kind of change it up a little bit on the format, guys, and talk about that right away, because that's people who seem to be, as I say, understandably focused on that one right now.
Right.
So let's switch back to the NWA for a second. The focus for our show on an ongoing basis, and talk about NWA Paranoia. I'll just kind of set up very quickly what it is that we're about to get into with what we know about the show so far. And NWA signature live event. Don't know what that means quite yet so far. Maybe our friend Pollo in the chat could explain what the difference between a pay-per-view or a signature live event is. But obviously the headliner that night is the ultimate match of death. They did put quotations in it just for you, Scoob. So you can't claim that you got ripped off and no one died. There's EC3 defends the world's heavyweight championship against Matt Cardona. That's going to be a big headliner for the company. I'm going to just go through some of the ones. Look, Magic Jake Dumas will take on Alex Misery. That actually, I have some interest in just seeing that at the beginning of the show. Miserably Faithful versus the Kids. I'm interested in seeing the Kids, although, there's no lead up to any of this stuff. Talos and Daisy Kill versus the New Spectaculars. Okay.
He's no dick dancer.
What's that?
He's no dick dancer.
Tom Latimer versus Brian Idol. I don't know what FTL versus FTW means. I got to look. They're both talented guys. I got no interest in this one right off. It's just not a feud I'm interested in. Yeah. This one feels like, my dad and my uncle are coming to beat me and my friends up. So this should be a pretty good fight as Murnox takes on the Southern Six with Ricky Morton. Yep. Right? You're out drinking in the park and your dad and uncle just rolled up and you're in for it, Al. And the Slime Balls get their shot after Powerrr, which we'll talk about in a little bit, at the U.S. Tag Team Champions, the Immortals, Kratos and Odinson. But of course, there's been 10 comments since I brought up the word Paranoia. The one that everyone's talking about right now is the title versus title. There must be a winner match. NWA World Women's Television Champion Max the Impaler versus the NWA Television Champion Mims. It's been, and I'm sure shall be, the most talked about match heading into this pay-per-view. And I posted to you two guys like some basic questions as we go into it. A lot of the chat, I think, is being respectful. There's a lot of stuff in there I don't know that I'm going to go too deeply into, just because I don't want to pull anyone's emotions or heartstrings one way or the other. But I will pull some of them here as I go through it. Retro, you got the first one. You got the next one. Mims versus Max is stupid. And look, if there's reasoning behind it, then I feel like, we can get into that and talk about it. Let me see here. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff going on there. So the way I look at it, guys, and I'll kind of pitch it to you guys from here, is it's title versus title. And that, however, that immediately makes us think that they're it makes us ask the question, is the NWA unifying the titles together and therefore making perhaps an intergender title? And I think the reason this is high on everybody's minds throughout the IWC right now is because last night on Powerrr there was an intergender match I have to admit, as a fan of both talents, Missa and Sal Rinauro, I thought it was a pretty good match.
Yeah.
But I'm not into intergender wrestling.
Right.
I have no interest in it, and I think that it's important, and we talk about as moving this in a very respectful way, this conversation forward, is for me to clarify that the reason I don't think that it would be a fantastic idea for them to have an intergender title, because I think intergender wrestling is beyond the realm of plausibility for me. There's a reason Brock Lesnar didn't fight Ronda Rousey, just throwing two random names out there,
Mm-hmm.
Women athletes, female athletes, and male athletes are two different categories, and for a reason. And I feel like you open up a can there if you make an intergender title, which the NWA is not saying. Just to be clear, that's what they're doing, but that's what the IWC has come up with. I think largely, Dave. That seems to be the first worry. What did you think when you heard this match was going to go on?
I'm wondering if they're doing it one way or the other, because right now, if you look at the roster, there's quite a few women, but at any given pay-per-view and or taping, there's not enough women to support all the belts that the NWA currently has. That they have to bring in outside tag teams for Pretty Empowered to go against and wrestle. Same thing. I mean, the Max has 7 victories, 7 wins. At least 3 of those were from outside of the NWA, and they were counted as wins in the Lucky 7. So that right there tells me that there's not enough female talent to sustain all the belts that the women have. If they choose to expand the roster with the territories and all that, that's fine and dandy. But until they build up a suitable roster, they're going out of their way to actually get wins for their talents.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure. I mean, me personally, if there's a good story and it involves a male and a female and they do an intergender match, I can understand it to finish a feud. But there hasn't been a feud really that I can think of that makes sense to do this. That it's one of these things of, okay, let's put the TV title for the women on the back burner for a while, maybe until the next anniversary show.
Yeah. I think that, Eric Dale just, I'm going to throw it up here again. What would the reaction to an intergender squash match be where the man just whoops the woman? So pro wrestling is obviously a scripted athletic affair. And so we're not really necessarily in danger of that happening. But it does, you have to have a certain level of plausibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that last night, Missa and Sal Rinauro were kind of fairly equally matched. If you're having an intergender match, you wanted to keep it within a realm of possibility and plausibility. That was probably one where you could pull it off.
Yeah.
But, again, I think it's also important that they're not saying they're creating an intergender title. As I was talking to you two guys before the show, perhaps it's a situation where you have 2 belts being held separately by one person. It works for Max the Impaler, who, by the way, for clarity, my favorite wrestler in the NWA right now, where Max, they could defend the men's and they could defend the women's separately and remain a double champion defending the belts separately. I don't see how it works for Maddie Mims. And I don't know that anyone is saying, again, I'll probably said this 3 times already, are saying that they're unifying the titles. But I do wonder if they're unifying or at least putting the titles together, Jeremy, because they're going on to the CW, or maybe they're retiring both titles as one option to throw to you and say the World Television title ends, the World Women's TV title ends. We now have the CW Championship, and maybe that's intergender. What do you think about an option like that? I'm with you, Retro. Don't take the belt, buddy.
That was one that I started juggling around in my head as Dave was talking. Was what if this is going to be where one of the belts is absorbed? Say if Mims wins, then the women's belt is absorbed into the men's title belt, and then it's just done away with. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Or if Max wins, then they absorb the women's title in there.
Right.
And then it's just gone. It doesn't exist anymore.
One lineage ends, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or like you said, both lineages could be ending, and this could be the start of a new CW Universal intergender television title.
The streaming TV title.
The streaming TV title.
Yep.
I mean, anything's possible. Let's assume that there's going to be an intergender championship out of this, because that's I think again what the internet wrestling community is talking about. And just going through like Joe Galli's post or the NWA's post and looking at the comments, and boy, they are negative. Yeah. What are the advantages of an intergender championship? Like, I'll throw it to both of you guys. Do you see? Like for me, it's a company that's stepping into a television environment for the first time in a very, very long time, and saying, we have something different. We're doing intergender. We would have an intergender championship. Our female title version holder and our male are coming together, and we're going onto this new platform, which has a certain appeal, I think, to some people. But the NWA also boasts itself on tradition, although tradition in a modern sense. And I think that the traditionalists, the guys who love, this belt, specifically in this form, by the way, without the word "arn" on the top, I guess, are going to lose their minds. And if there's one thing I've learned from Mr. Corrigan and the interviews that he's given, Dave, he doesn't care about that stuff. He is convinced about what he's going to do, and he's going to move forward with his product. And, I'm sure while he must listen to certain advisors, he's not going to be ruled, as he has said, by the fans of, the wrestling community. Given that there's advantages, there's disadvantages, I'm sure it's a business decision in the end. What would you do?
I'm not really sure what I would do. It's a toss-up. I mean, you can, if you do the intergender, which I personally don't like, but there are a lot of people that do like it, you can get some newer eyes on the NWA. But you also may lose some eyeballs of traditionalists that like the NWA the way it is. And I mean, they say it every week. Tradition, legacy, it's one of these things. You have to be careful about how far you go, not politically to the right or to the left, but you're going on TV or streaming TV as it is. you want to be able to get as many eyeballs on you without people basically giving you the business.
When speaking of giving the business, here's what Lou said. Lou is an awesome guy that I met this year down at 75 and an NWA fan. Not here to politic, pontificate, or proselytize one way or the other, but will say that could lead me to walking away from the Lightning One owned NWA. So as a traditionalist, like, you know, Lou told me once recently he saw Terry Funk or Dory Funk in a Texas death match. Never mind explaining one on YouTube. You know, you're going to alienate I think a significant part of the fan base who was brought here because of that tradition. And I'm really interested to see where this comes out. Some of the stuff here, Jammin's here. Thanks for being here. Retro would said, I rather have the CW title like the TNT title, but for men. Eric liked the television title when it came back. I'd hate to see it go. I still remember when it was unveiled a few years ago by, I always forget his name because he's got two of them. The announcer, he was down here at the time. He's up in the E now. Well, when they took the Stu Bennett, thank you. When he took the guy, like he put his hand on it and went, ha, like he knew what he was about to unveil, right? Such a beautiful belt. We are James H. Jackson Jr. We are a small but vocal minority, but Billy, in a way, doesn't care what we want to a certain extent. It's true. He's told us that. In a way, you got to respect it. I don't hate him for it. If it were my product, I'm going to make the decisions too. But I do think that you have to listen to the tone of the fan base, not the specific comments or people from, you know, here or there. But I think you've got to understand who brought you to this dance, you know. And I think in this case, it's the traditionalists. However, we'll see how it goes. Matthew Underwood is here.
This match is going to be good. I have no doubt about that. It's going to be a really good match.
Yeah.
After this match, though, if they do decide to go intergender with it, I don't want to see any of that. I really don't want to see this match.
Yeah.
But I really don't want to see a female that identifies as a female going against a man that identifies as a man. Even if it is fake, if it is scripted, I don't want to see that. As a wrestling fan, that's not... I didn't see that on my screen growing up as a kid on a regular basis. I don't want it to become a thing.
So I'm with you guys, and to say very plainly, as I know, as I kind of, you know, forged with most of the leading into shit in the show, I'm fairly neutral. Just to be fairly clear here, I think this is bullshit. So, and strictly for the reasons, like I mentioned before, I don't like intergender wrestling. And the reason it doesn't generally exist in sports is that they are completely two different categories. There's, you know, I enjoy women's sports as much as I enjoy, maybe not as much as I enjoy men's, but there are two different you know, levels and two different categories. I think that it's again, it is a scripted entertainment of athleticism, but this is in my mind a terrible idea. And where Lou says it might be something that makes me walk away from the NWA, I have to lend my voice to that right off the bat. I'm not interested in watching intergender wrestling, and I'm certainly not interested in covering it. Well, you know, in my spare time,
Right.
You know, and so, and it's funny. I'm not very good at you know, talking about some of this stuff. Sometimes just trying to get my point across. But when I say the reasons for my, you know, dislike of intergender wrestling is entirely because I don't think the athleticism is the same for both. I absolutely mean it. And, you know, I fear that we're going to get into an environment we haven't here in the chat that I can see, which I'm very thankful. The Alliance family's pretty great about this stuff overall. You know, I have a child that's LGBTQ, and, you know, Max the Impaler, I think, is right now the best talent in the NWA, all in, the most interesting. Certainly the one that, you know, that I'm the most interested in seeing. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see, if it becomes a title unification, I don't want to see it. If there's a way into this where I go, you know, Tim, you're stupid. You should have seen this coming. Congratulations, then great. Let's carry on. But it's not for me, guys. You know, Dave, you mentioned something in our conversation on the Discord as well. Like, would Max be allowed to, like, Max already has the 7 wins. Would Max be allowed to challenge for the Burke and the 10 pounds of gold?
Why not? If they're going to do the intergender, Max has already had dealings with Tyrus at one time in a tag match. So it's one of these things of level playing field. Step out. Me personally, I don't want to mess with, quote unquote, the tradition of the NWA.
Right.
I'm not saying that a woman can't do what a man can do. Somebody who's non-binary can't do what either a man or a woman can do, but you have to step lightly.
Right.
That it's real, but it's not real.
Yeah.
People have to buy into it. And nowadays, people know the deal of kayfabe. That nothing is sacred. It's the Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. It's all an illusion. It's a real illusion. But I mean, if you look at some of the classic wrestlers, like, I mean, would you want to see Bruiser Brody go against Mae Young?
I actually just laughed involuntarily. Yeah, of course. It's a great point.
It's one of these things. Both of those wrestlers, what they do is very different, but it's also the same. You just have to look at it and go, okay, one of these things is not like the other. We need to make this accessible to, quote unquote, everybody, whether male, female, non-binary, whatever floats your boat.
Right.
There's things, I may not like chocolate, but there's thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people that like chocolate. Well, of course, I'm lying. I do like chocolate. But it's one of these things that you have to make adjustments. And I'm just hoping they don't do 2 steps forward, 100 steps back, and that they get all these people riled up. They're coming off of Samhain, where they had the, oh, it's snowing in Cleveland. We're partying. Ha, ha, ha. Just give us wrestling. Make it simple. Make it make sense. Not everything involves a title belt. Not every story is a good story. Sometimes it's just wrestler A hates wrestler B, so they want to beat some ass.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because wrestler A looked at wrestler B the wrong way, and now they're going to come into the ring and settle the score. So they just have to be very careful where they go. I'm not going to give up on the NWA, but I'll see where it goes. I'll be selective in what I watch, if they end up doing more intergender, because that's just not me.
Right. And, we're not, the three of us, we're not anybody, we're not anybody. We're kind of the guys who lead the voices that are in the chat here right now. But we can say in our little world, at least I can for me, if the NWA were a product that, focused on intergender wrestling on a regular basis, retired the JCP era NWA TV title, retired the brand new World Women's Television Championship that has been held by two of the three, Max is non-binary, but has been held by Kenzie and Max, two of the three best talents in the female division. I'll put it that way. It has a great start, and and the other side I just mentioned, guys like Bobby Eaton, television champion, Arn Anderson. If it were to end and we get an intergender television title, I have to evaluate how I'm best spending my time. Right. And the boss says, "Was this part of the 20-year plan?" You got to think it's fairly, this has come up. Someone's had an idea, and let's run with it. I'm with you, Dave. We'll see where it goes. I'm interested, but I would say one thing against my own arguments. We're all talking about it, and there's more. We have a very active chat, and there's more activity in this chat, and there's more people watching us live probably than ever before right now, I would imagine, because of this topic. Let me go to some of this. Jamie doesn't like the idea of having an intergender championship. Neither does Willie. Didn't Impact have one? Yes. Sort of. Jordan Grace and took. Oh no, that was Cardona's internet title, I think, if that's what I'm thinking of. Of course, Tessa Blanchard took the world title, right? At one point.
Off of Sami Callihan, yes.
Off of Sami Callihan.
Which in the long run was kind of believable. I can believe that Tessa Blanchard could probably whip the shit out of pudgy little Sami Callihan.
Yeah, that was a good match, actually.
But it was that's the other thing. It was a very good match. I didn't pay to watch it though.
No, neither did I.
Saw it after the fact on YouTube. I was interested in seeing who came out the victor, but only out of curiosity. I didn't want to see. I didn't even watch the full match. I've never watched the full match. What I did see of it was well done, but
right,
it was just like passing by a car wreck. You just kind of crane your neck a little bit.
That's right, rubberneck at it. The NWA can see on social. Our friend Sam Retro says, "Who are the real fans? It's only a few of us. Not like they're listening to 4 million people." We'll talk about the UWN in a little bit. I'll say I'm glad Dave Marquez is coming back with tapings, January 14th, I believe. Same day as the TV tapings for yeah, man. He seems to make the product that is more speaks to my taste. Us too.
Yeah.
Man. Noob, I think, kind of saying the same thing again, but as many people here, the women's division kind of gets shafted in if this is something that happens. Well, Retro speaks his mind. He's a good man. Luckily, and James H. Jackson Jr. points this out quite clearly. We can all choose what we want to watch as fans. Matthew Underwood. Eli Drake refused a job to Tessa in Impact. Brian Cage did it. So thanks for explaining. Who made the right call?
Who's main eventing in WWE right now, and who's lingering and catering in AEW?
Yeah.
That's purely subjective, and
I guess it is, but your point is taken.
What they did for Tessa or refused to do for her, but at the end of the day, Who's main eventing and who's in catering?
I couldn't imagine Mims just saying anything but sure. I'm happy to do whatever it is that I can do for the company that's pushed me into this role. But it won't be good for Mims' career, I don't think, along those same lines.
Yeah.
He's
Eric
working
Dale,
hard to get where he is right now.
yeah,
So that's my thing. We saw him so close so many times to getting that title,
right.
to have the rug pulled out from underneath him, and now he's finally gotten it, and they're just gonna they're just gonna piss that story away.
Yeah. They could easily do. Matthew says a great Mims and Draper feud for the TV championship, but here we are. Sam says double DQ or DQ period, and I'm fine with that. I'm not interested in combining the titles. I'm not interested in intergender wrestling as a focus for the company. I'm totally okay with Max because of their gimmick being the one person who wrestles either. But as Dave has pointed out to me on a couple of occasions, Max the Impaler being like Vader, and who else did you compare it to? Big John Studd and King Kong Bundy. You've said Max should use the 5 count, right?
Yep.
Max doesn't need a title. Max is a force of nature to be reckoned with, all on their own.
It's Max. When Max is a champion, it helps those that Max wrestles, whether win or loss, going up against it. Max can help build so many people, whether it be over in Japan or here in the United States or wherever Max may go with the NWA Women's TV title. But if Max ends up winning this match, it's confusing all the way around when you go and look booking wise how to book matches that involve Max and involve titles.
Yeah. I think James H. Jackson has a good point here. Just be civil about it. I'll go watch something else if I'm not into it.
Yeah.
Fuzzy thinks, belt versus belt on this match really overcomplicates things. Eric was asking about, didn't China have an Intercontinental belt? How'd they handle that? Yeah, with Jericho, they went back and forth. I think they both hated that in reality.
Yeah.
There's that great story I've told on here before about how they asked Jarrett to do the job on the way out to her, right?
Yep.
And he said, I'll do it for, $1 million, I think was the number.
I'll do it for X amount, and I'm going to walk around the concourse whenever I come back.
Yeah.
I want an answer. And they said no. And then he said, okay, it's going to be X amount.
He said it'll be $2 million.
Yeah.
And they went, okay. You got paid, Yeah, but a point taken here. We know movies aren't real, but we still need to be consistent within its own universe. So, I'm going to try to catch up with the chat here. And I'm the first to admit, James H. Jackson Jr. says, some weeks the women's match steals the show. Almost all pay-per-views, Camille or Kenzie are stealing a show. When the women are talented enough to stand on their own and don't need intergender matches. I think it not only intergender as a concept not only creates a perceived weakness in the talent for men. I think it also can end up working both ways on that as well. What if Missa K or Noob's here. Let's say Natalia Markova, beats a bunch of women and then goes and has an intergender match and gets killed by, I don't know, pick somebody. Yeah. Okay. Like, what value is that in any way? So there's just, it's fraught with peril here.
Yeah. Too many trap doors. I was saying this to James H. Jackson. There's too many trap doors in this booking.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. And again, I know I'm repeating myself. We don't know that there's a unification. We don't know that that's the case. There are ways to, I think, do this that are going to be troublesome to make everybody happy with. And a lot of great talent here that is going to be involved. But if it's going the way that the IWC seems to suggest that it might go, there's a lot of unhappy people already. Kenji designed that belt. It's a terrible belt, right? That World Women's title.
Yeah.
It's awful. It looks like it was designed for one of those, like, marketing manager of the year websites, right? Where you get it for like $50 and was awful.
Yeah.
Those Wildcat belts.
Yeah. Yeah. My top wrestlers, Fuzzy says, are Max related. Women's titles, even going way back on social issues. Everybody, black and white wrestlers on equal footing. Sam says Billy's got too much ego to let somebody else design a belt he owns.
And see, that's the thing, like James said, and it's being pointed. And the NWA's women's division has some hard-hitting women. You've got Max the Impaler, who I know identifies as non-binary, but is in the women's picture because of holding the women's TV title. You've got Missa Kate, who just had a hard-hitting match with our pal Sal and has had hard-hitting matches in the tag team division. You've got Natalia Markova and Taylor Rising, who are both hard-hitting individuals. We're not lacking for talent in the women's division to where they need to be bleeding over into the men's division for any reason. If anything, we need to be bringing more hard-hitting women into to bolster up and fortify that women's division.
Absolutely. Great point. I'm way behind in the chat here too, guys. Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Impromptu Lord Alfred Hayes voice. What did I miss here? Eric, assuming Max prevails, could we see Tessa make an appearance in the NWA to take on Max? Man, I hope so. I mean, just give me Tessa in the NWA. Willie says, hell no to Tessa coming to the NWA, though. So, polarizing topic to say the least. Fuzzy says, as a mark, I want Mims to be a winner. I just like I want Thrillbilly to be a babyface. Makes me sad. It's my NWA hero style. Nobody is more of an unapologetic mark than Fuzzy, and I love it.
I love it.
He gives a clear perspective that none of us, his is just pure. Like I love the popcorn. That's what he just want to see what's going on. Mayor TV, welcome. Ad stated there must be a winner, so maybe Mims will be the most dominant TV champ ever. Yeah, maybe. We don't know at this point. There you go. Hey, Rick Del Santos here. Rick, good to see you. Typical Billy Corrigan, J. Cal says, painted himself into a corner with terrible booking.
Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner.
Yeah, there's your winner. Retro says, man, I want to see Natalia become TV champ to build a story until Crockett Cup to beat Kenzie. Is Judias chokeslamming Missa Kate in our future? It sounds laughable, but it isn't, right? Like this is the possibility of this is where this might be going.
This kind of is. It kind of could set a precedent, yes.
And one thing, guys, there must be a winner.
Yeah,
there must be a winner.
No DQ or no double DQ.
It's one of the
has to win.
Do we see Dak Draper interfere and it either maybe helps Mims win or it backfires and he loses? But they were just getting started with the TV title.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see that story continue, but I'm not sure what the thought is behind it. So it's a hurry up and wait. We'll see what happens. But remember, this is taking place at Paranoia. It's not a pay-per-view. So it'll take place, and then 2, 3, 4 weeks after, depending on when they decide to show it, that match will be on either the CW, or if they're still on YouTube, it'll be on their YouTube page, their YouTube channel.
Right.
So who knows what happens and where this goes, because you have those 2 events on the 13th. Then you also have tapings on the 14th. So there's a whole lot of wrestling, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, depending on how they chop things up. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, it's risky, in my opinion, to be pushing this when you're just starting on TV, whether it's the app, streaming television, or on traditional territorial television.
Right.
So who knows?
James says it's confusing because you're not booking it, Dave.
Oh, I know.
Not yet, right?
No.
2024, all that changes. Paranoia is a live event, Matthew Underwood says. I was under the impression it will be live on the CW app. Yeah, maybe. I really don't know. Look, in the end, for this specific topic, I hope that we're all, concerned about something that never comes to pass. And in professional wrestling, as fans, then that is quite often something that is the case. I don't think anyone here would have a problem someday with, Max the Impaler being the one person I think can do both male and female. That's the gimmick. And there's a plausibility there. That's Vader, and Max is a character.
Right.
If I can is non-binary. They are, able to do both. And I think I could see Max challenging for the television title. I could see Max challenging for the national title, whatever. I think what the concern is just basically are we seeing an intergender future for other, especially with what we saw at Powerrr last night? Is that what we're going to be looking for? And that's the real concern right now for a guy like me, an old guy like me. I think in the end, it's either going to be, well, actually, I think I posed a question to you guys in writing, like, is it going to be the best thing for the NWA to do if they unify them? Or is it going to be the worst? I don't know if it's going to be either, but I think in my head, in just trying to see it from 30,000 feet, it does more harm than good to the product. And that's just me. So hopefully we don't go that way. Let's talk about Powerrr last night. Christmas Wish Battle Royal. It came up on the screen, and I was like, who are some of these guys?
Yep.
Once again, we get in a couple of guys in matching tights. That's great. Who the hell are they? There's no lead in. They did this a couple of weeks ago. And immediately I thought, like, oh, it's like the Jabroni Battle Royal. But in the end, the slime balls, Tommy Rant, I think, right, is his name, right? Tommy, I think that's his name. He ends up winning, and immediately the smaller of the two, I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name because they're new to me, runs over the microphone. We want the Immortals. That's all I needed out of that segment from them. That was perfect. What did you think, Dave? What did you think of the Christmas Battle Royal?
Well, I mean, it's a battle royal, so I mean, there's going to be action happening here, there, and everywhere. But it's one of these things of there seem to be several tag teams, but then single wrestlers, and I wasn't confused, but a little more explanation of what it was could have been just posted on the website, posted on Twitter X, whatever, of, hey, we're having a Christmas Wish Battle Royal. There's going to be 12 gentlemen enter, and whoever the winner is gets a Christmas wish of what type of match they want. Just let me know what the basic rules are, and I'll enjoy it. But it's sort of, okay, there's a couple wrestlers that are tag teams. There's a couple wrestlers that I didn't even know who they were until they got tossed out and I heard their name, and I'm like, oh, okay. But make it make sense. It's the little things, just little explanations, a little 30-second blurb up. Hey, we've got this coming up. Here's the rules, and just flash it up on the screen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Eric said they kind of remind me of the Nasty Boys, and Retro agreed. For me, it was Public Enemy, Jeremy. They remind me of Public Enemy. I don't get the whole slime thing other than that we're dirty, so I can see the Nasty Boys out of that. But I don't know, man. What did you think of like the lack of explanation? And I don't know. What did you think of it overall? Were you okay with it?
If I never hear the smaller one scream again, be good. It drop that please from your gimmick. You got heart. You're a feisty little chihuahua, but that's kind of Rolando's gig. So you're stepping on some toes here. Overall, it was what it was for a match. I wasn't invested in any of them winning or losing, so the slime balls won. Okay, cool.
A kid screaming needs to go, Fuzzy says. He'll learn. He also said he'd like to see them on like a returning NWA USA secondary show.
Yeah.
Or as enhancement talent, and maybe that's what they'll be. We don't really know. The smaller one screaming in the grass of Judas. Book it, Corgan. Nice. Well, we were talking about intergender and our fear thereof, of it becoming a focus or a titled, not a weight class, but, class of wrestling anyway. But we had one last night, Dave. We had Missa Kate taking on Sal Renaro, and there was kind of something there, sort of, if you remember way back in the day, and you looked at it with your head cocked, between they were mad at each other. I don't know, but again, no real explanation. But the match itself, I thought, for an intergender match was not altogether terrible. It was good. I was good. I'm being unfair. It was fun for an intergender match between those two guys, basically the same size. Over to you.
And I mean, it's like you said, it was a fun match. It had its points. It had its little, hey, let's stop, and all of a sudden, hey, we're sitting on the mat clapping, and it was a good match in that it showed mind games work. That Missa Kate playing up to Sal, and then Sal getting distracted or confused at what was happening, and he didn't keep his head in the game and ended up losing the match. Now, wrestling is wrestling, and me personally, I don't like intergender matches, but if it tells a story and wraps things up in a bow and finishes it quickly, I really have no problem with it. But the thing is, maybe it's my age, and maybe it didn't stick out as much as they wanted it to. I really don't remember the quote-unquote storyline.
Me neither.
Of them dealing with each other.
Me neither.
This is one of those things that, okay, they do the tapings and they know what's going on. They know what matches they're going to have. 1, 2, 3 days before Powerrr comes on, show us what happened. Hey, coming up next week on Powerrr, they show us what the matches are going to be. Okay,
right.
Well, give us an idea of why this is happening. That, I don't know, Matt, it can be that Missa Kate is like, I don't need anybody stepping in and telling me what to do. He may be a veteran of 20 plus years, but I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And just do that. The other thing I want to know is, who is Missa Kate talking to in that backstage area? They showed that. That was a social media thing. It played into the story, but just, I guess, but just make it make sense. Give us an idea of what's happening.
And Jeremy, you mentioned this to us earlier. Like, there's a continuity error here with Sal the Pal. This match obviously took place earlier, and the Salvation gimmick, has which has already been unleashed upon us, was they weren't calling him that.
Right. Well, actually, this is number 2 of the continuity errors. The first continuity error was they posted the Slime Balls versus the Immortals before the match had even taken place, and it went through everyone.
Yeah,
it went through everyone, and it got posted on social media.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know what their engagement is like on social media and stuff, but that's just stuff like that, and the Salvation thing. Just we talk about this all the time, and Dave says it. The little details, just define it. The attention to the little details is very lacking, and it pulls me out in a lot of instances because of it. Because I am an attention to detail type of guy.
Right. Fuzzy says the match showed just how good Missa Kate is. I just wish Sal would have a simple gimmick. Salvation was a good gimmick for Sal. So Jake Cal says it's a bullshit no story.
Yep.
They played it up as Sal was talking trash to Missa before her title match, but Missa fought Max when Sal wasn't in the MF. Okay. So yeah, I mean, weird continuity stuff continues. You think there'd be, I know, like, there's a bunch of people we've heard over there kind of slap their foreheads and went, oh, how did this get through all of us? But it's got to be one person whose job this is. I mean, to just, say yes or no for continuity. Daisy Kill and Talos fought Carson Drake and Lord Crew, and I was excited, not for the match, because I knew, Miserably Faithful. Thanks, Jake. I didn't know what that was. But I was excited, guys, to see Carson Drake and Lord Crew in an NWA ring. That's exciting stuff. I'm going to go to you first, Jeremy, because you're the UWN guy. You like seeing these guys? Like, holy crap, it's Lord Crew.
Look, anytime I can see Lord Crew wrestling, that's a good damn day.
Yeah.
That guy is a great talent. I wasn't too familiar with Carson Drake, but I enjoyed him. And this was a good matchup for Talos and Daisy Kill. I like the way that it played out, how they built the match, or not built the match because there was no build to the match really, but in the match itself, I liked how they built the match. And like I said, anytime I get to see Lord Crew, it's just a good day.
Yeah, man.
In a wrestling ring, the guy is a phenomenal talent, and I hope he's not long for the NWA. Really.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. Like, when I first got into the UWN, he was a guy that was featured over there pretty, heavily. They did like a Loser Leaf Town thing in I think Derby, and then maybe it was CW.
No, it was CW.
Okay.
and
then he just
up in Derby.
came back anyway because they just found a way around it. It was very cool. He was the guy, if anybody remembers, when EC3 first won the title, was going around the independents, and they kept showing that promo where, he kind of turned around and said that. I think he was the first one to say, like, when the Overman comes to Cleveland or whatever, it's just going to be Overman. And, like, it was a cool-ass promo. It's a cool thing to say. Eric says Talos and Daisy Kill Mercer looked dominant. It's a rumor I'm starting. Finisher looks nasty. Carson Drake's only been wrestling for 2 years. I've seen him around. He's pretty good. It's a Lord Crew thing mostly for me, but let me get that NWA 75 preview or replay, of Camille versus Kenzie Page. I don't know how many times I heard match of the year. I don't know about that particular point, but it was the finishing the end of Camille's reign.
Yeah.
The reign of the most dominant wrestler in the NWA, the Lightning One era. It was, I got to be there firsthand to witness it. And so was Sam Retro. We both have those keyboard pieces still from actually that was Markova in that one, now that I'm thinking about it, right? But that was her last successful title defense. But anyway, it's something that we've seen before. It was a good it was NWA 75. It was a good match at the end. Mm-hmm. We enjoyed it. Let's because we knew we'd go long. I hope you guys brought drinks. Let's go over real quick and talk about the UWN, see what's going on, see what they're bringing us as they prepare to come back in January. What do they got in the vault? What's happening in Memphis? We'll go over to the segment we call Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
I need all of you to stop. I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
The following is a presentation of the United Wrestling Network.
It's time for Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
What do you got for us this week, Jer?
A whole lot of nothing.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Just a reminder that January the 14th, UWN will be having their tapings. If you're in the area and you've got a couple extra bucks in your pocket, go watch a hell of a show.
Yeah.
The UWN will be coming back with Championship Wrestling. I don't know who it'll be presented by or coming from where, but it will be coming back, as well as Derby City Wrestling will be coming back, and Iron Pro Wrestling will become Championship Wrestling from Minnesota. So a lot of big things coming up in the next month for the UWN. Like I said, the tapings will be on the 14th of January. Then I imagine probably around the beginning of February is when they'll start popping up on YouTube for new episodes. So still about a month to go before we see any new content from them. But they are still doing the recaps every Sunday. So, and the chat's still live and still populated. Still has a decent turnout of about 60 to 100 people every week, and it's the same little group of people that are keeping it going in the chat. Always a good hangout. None of the matches that they've been showing have been subpar by any means. They've all been top tier UWN matches that we've got to see, and touched on a couple different eras of the UWN as well, which is good. As I say every week, if you're not watching the UWN and all of its affiliated products, you're probably an asshole.
All of its affiliated products?
Yes.
All of them? You have to watch all of them?
All of them. Even Memphis. If I suffer through, you should too.
Was Memphis this week? Was it Boogie Woogie Man? Was that this?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, we had the Boogie Woogie Man out. That was a high spot for Memphis this week. I will expand upon that. It was fucking Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, and still can cut a good promo. At the drop of a dime. It was fun to watch. He came out there in a Santa's outfit, talked some trash to Jimmy Blaylock and Van Vicious. And if you don't watch anything else on Memphis, I don't blame you, but check that part out.
I mean, I keep waiting week after week for Jeremy to go, okay, there was a good one this week. I swear to God, one came out.
I do too, Tim. I do too. I so fucking want it. That's why I keep watching her, because I'm waiting. It's gonna happen. They're right there on the precipice of something. I can feel it. It just hasn't hit yet.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Eric Dale says, "What if I only watch Memphis?" He's still an asshole.
No. If you're watching any of the UWN products and if you're supporting the UWN in any way, shape, or form, that's the most important thing. If you're watching one of their shows, you're helping out all of them. So at the end of the day, it's a gimmick. You're not a ham sandwich jabroni or any of that, but
I too will be am feel that Jimmy Blaylock is misunderstood. I gotta get a hat that says like Jake Cal.
He's only misunderstood because he's got too many chicken wings in his mouth when he tries to talk.
I'm gonna get a hat that says like Jake Cal sucks. You don't suck, but I love you, Jake. Oh shit. We love you, Jay.
SoCal Vince, Jay Cal Vince.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Dave. Oh, sorry, Dave has been tweeting. He's working on getting a new sponsor for all. Just keep our fingers crossed. Jay Cal says he knows who it is, but has not dropped this information into the chat. I resemble that remark. But so they does have a new sponsor. That's great. We've heard about crowdfunding down the road, but glad that there's a sponsor. the Tupelo tornado abides.
The most devastating move in all of wrestling.
Oh, so good. You got to watch. If you're watching Memphis, even ironically, it still counts. It still counts. All right, let's go back to the NWA.
Oh shit!
Most laughter I've had in a while. Let's wrap it back up to the NWA here, because all of this kind of the stuff about Max and Mims and intergender possible wrestling, or even a belt around it. Dave's got a fantasy booking question in his segment. I respect you, Booker Man. I wrote this one down, Dave. Is the NWA ready for the CW? What do you mean by that? And give us the answer.
Well, right now, I mean, they're having events, tapings. There hasn't been a pay-per-view yet. I'm not sure what they have for the plan for the new year, but as the saying goes, they need to get their ducks in order.
Right.
They need to put forth the best shows that they can. I'm not sure when they're actually going to be on the CW, whether it be the television or the app. But whenever, they need to be ready to put their best foot forward and not do one step forward, 1,000 steps back. They need to push the title holders, the people with name recognition. And it's not just, okay, let's push these guys because they're former WWE or WWF stars.
Right.
There's enough people that I believe watch the NWA now currently that they know who Thrillbilly is. They know who Markova is. They know who Tom Latimer is. It's one of these things that the champions of the NWA go out and defend their belts outside of the NWA. But right now they need to push these title holders and, in my opinion, have at least one title defense each Powerrr episode coming up on CW, so it builds interest, knowing that, hey, a title can be taken away, can change, there can be a new champion, almost anything can happen, but they need to make good things happen.
Right.
So what I would do is, right now you have 2 TV titles, the men and the women. We'll see what happens with that, but whichever title sticks around, or if both of them do, the TV title, the junior heavyweight, and the US tags, in my opinion, they're the lower level. That's not a bad thing, but they are on the lower level. They need to be shown matches of defenses or qualifying matches for these tag teams and these single wrestlers, that if you have, let's say, the Immortals, that there's a qualifying match with tag team A and tag team B, have the wrestlers out at the commentary table to watch what's happening. Have them at the commentary table, or have them be interviewed by Kyle at the podium. And then they're like, well, can we stay here and watch? We want to see who our next opponent is.
Sure.
Then have them go into the ring after, and whoever the winner is, congratulate them and shake their hands and say, we look forward to defeating you. Thank you. Goodbye. But you need to get the title holders involved, whether it's a qualifying match or if they're defending the titles. They need to be involved, not just do backstage segments. If you're going to do a segment, have May, or if Sam is with the NWA still, have them do a control center. Break down who's in line for whatever titles. Oh, for the junior heavyweight, Alonzo lost at Sawin, but he's working his way back up. He's at number 3. He defeated so-and-so to move up from 5 to 3. Ahead of him is so-and-so and so-and-so. This can be done either at the tapings, after the tapings, whatever. They can be inserted into the programs. But give us the information. Let us know what's going on, because I believe they know what's going on before they start.
Right.
They're not making just a decision of, oh, okay, well, we don't have anybody for the junior heavyweight to go against Colby. Let's throw Homicide in again. He's a former champion. No. If they're doing things right, they can for the next 3 months, for the next 6 months, for the next year, and go, okay, at Crockett Cup, we see this team winning. At the 76th anniversary show, we see this belt being defended, this belt being won. If they're not planning ahead, they need to.
Yeah.
TV is just that. It's a chance for you to bring new eyes to your product. TV is advertising for your events, whether it's a live event or a pay-per-view. So if you like what you see on TV, whether it be streaming or on a network television, you just need to go with the flow. You need to have have something that catches your eye and makes you want to either go see it live or be willing to spend some money and get that pay-per-view. Now, many of the title holders defend their belts out on the independents.
Yeah.
Either use these as an attention grabber, whether it be on social media, whether it be on your YouTube channel, because right now, I mean, NWA has their channel. They have Extra. JCP has their channel. Exodus Pro has their channel. Anytime a NWA talent is wrestling in any of these locations, you don't have to give me the whole match. Give me highlights. Give me 2 minutes of a championship match. The entry, a couple, maybe 60 seconds of them doing highlights, and then the pin and your winner, whether it's a new winner, a new champion, or that champion defended their belt and they won. On to the next. They need the NWA needs to start including everybody in everything. That have these videos posted on the YouTube, even on the website. Pollo's doing the website. Do some highlight reels. Give me some idea of who are the slime balls. I've seen them in action once. I've seen them yelling into the mic a couple times. But give me some highlights of them up in Exodus Pro. It's one of these things that if you highlight the talent, you'll be accustomed to who they are when you see them and not go, who is that?
100%.
So it's one of these things that now we need to figure out, are they still going to use YouTube for the pre-shows? Are they going to do that? Or if they're on, if they're doing a pay-per-view, will they use CW and do it live to the CW app of the pre-show? I mean, right now, CW is morphing into I believe, sports. They show a lot of reruns. They have a lot of individual shows. A few are actually syndicated. A few are actually from the CW. But from what I've read, they're looking to move to more sports. If they're 30, 40, 50% sports, they will highlight all the different types of sports they do.
Mm-hmm.
They have Inside the NFL right now. They have that Live Golf League. They've got racing coming up. They have ACC men and women's basketball coming up. They have WOW and NWA wrestling. So they need to build up the eyes of who's going to be watching. Now, I may not like golf, but I may like basketball.
Right.
So if they have NWA on, and then after the show, they have a basketball game, hey, they've got my attention for 2.5, 3 hours maybe. But they just need to put their best foot forward and use the NWA talent to the highest level that they can. That if people know who EC3 is from his time back in Impact, from his time back in the WWE, whoever, if they know who a wrestler is from the past and they hear their names, that's what will bring eyes to the NWA. It's not things like, oh, we're going to have a guy beat a girl or a girl beat a guy, or we're going to throw these together, these belts together, and it's going to become one because we want to give everybody a chance at winning. They need to just step lightly, put their best foot forward. And I keep saying the best foot forward because as much as I love the NWA going back to the 70s when I watched it back in Kansas City, they always seem to do something that shoots them in the foot. They're walking along and then they hit a patch and they slide back. They're walking along, they do something, they slide back. Just keep it simple. That's all you got to do. Keep it simple. Have a couple stories. I wouldn't even care. I mean, if you remember WCW back in the day when they would have Saturday night and it's from center stage and they'd have just a tag team against another tag team and it didn't mean anything. It was just, we're wrestling each other.
Yep.
I just want to see good wrestling. Not every match has to have a storyline. It's one of these things that give us the best of the best that you can and make the story flow so we want to watch more besides what's given to us for free.
You got it, man. Bang on as usual.
Tag, you're it. The ball's in your court.
Right. Well, we got to get, I just had an idea, Jeremy. I had an idea we got to get, I think, a Scooby shirt. A merch made for the Alliance. It will have top of Dave's head with the hat, right? And the glasses over top of an open book that says like booking notes or something, right? And we'll just have like, keep it simple written right down on the bottom. Dave Scooby, fantasy booker, everybody. I got lots of comments coming in during this one tonight. Retro was saying, pulled out his TV, got a new 60-inch smart TV to watch over the app. So they need to get on the ball. Lou points out all CW posters have been taken down at work. Lou works at a television station down in St. Louis. We're on equal par with Fox promotional materials. It may have been a top 20 network, but it's looking much less of an entity in the near future. James says, I'd like to see NWA USA come back as a 30-minute YouTube show with those lower titles on it.
Absolutely.
I agree, man. You're talking about the tag teams or whatever coming into the ring. Like, I look forward to beating you. If Thrillbilly doesn't strike me as a handshaker, Dale says. On your points, Dave, James Jackson, an actual NWA rankings, top 5 contenders list for each title on the website would be sweet too. One of my favorite things back in the 80s, if you wanted to harken back to tradition in a new way, which I think is, we've always been told is the basis here, was buying the wrestler, PWI, and what's the third one? Anyway, the Apter mags, and looking at the list in the back for the champs with their top 10 contenders and going, what? How is Brutus Beefcake on like number 3 for the WWF heavyweight title? Whatever. They had all of the leagues, NWA, WWF, AWA, tag teams, most popular. Do that. Do that in a modern way on the website. That was the original idea for the studio show, was advertising for the bigger arena shows. We need to go back to that. I agree. And also, James says, JCP uploads the full shows to YouTube. And I sent a tweet to EC3, and he said, starting with his next show, he will be showing all of his shows on the premier streaming network. By the way, it's now with free ads, of which I believe he is the heavyweight champion.
Yep.
Eric Dale says, is there any information on a possible NWA reality show? The day-to-day of the independent pro wrestler could be interesting. I don't have any info on it yet. We haven't heard much other than that it was part of the deal to get, with the CW.
Me and James H. Jackson were talking about that, and it makes me wonder if the appeal of that was due to the success of The Wrestler.
Right.
Or not The Wrestler, but Wrestlers on Netflix.
Wrestlers, yeah.
And did the CW possibly pass up on Wrestlers and Netflix scooped it up, and now they're kicking themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Could be. I know that Mr. Corgan's marriage was part of the reality show, and they wanted to, CW, he had said, was interested in that as well, right?
Yeah.
As part of the content. So I guess we'll see how it goes. That's it. We've gone longer like we usually do. Tell us where they can find you, Dave, on social media.
You can find me at Dave Scooby on X, Twitter, and Instagram, and over on TikTok at Dave Scooby, followed by the number 1.
Jeremy, how about you?
You can find me over on Twitter at HJWOTS and on Threads at Championship Wrestling Jeremy.
I am at the Alliance Gold on all the socials, which I really need to do a concerted job of being more on. But most importantly, alliance-wrestling.com, your number 1 source for all news and information around the NWA, number 1. And at the Alliance blog on all of the social media networks. I started this show with a video about restoring the Hall of Fame. That is going to be my little mandate for the first half of this year. We have 50 signatures on a petition that's, I'm told, it's a pain in the ass to sign. But if you could spend 5-10 minutes of your time, I'm going to be putting this in the doobly-doo down below. It's already in the comments thing, the actual link at change.org to ask the NWA in a very positive and polite way to restore the Hall of Fame so that we can get, people in it. Like Barry Windham should probably be in the NWA Hall of Fame. But anyway, so I'll be focusing on that. So as far as I know, tomorrow night, the Alliance guys are on 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. The OGs, J. Cal, Daisy Kill Mercer, and the giant Jaden. I've met Jaden. He is well over 7 feet tall. He's an enormous human being. And every Tuesday at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, obviously it's the pre-party, the flagship of the Alliance, that hour before Powerrr with J. Cal, the boss.
Too sweet to be sour.
Too sweet. Did he say that this week in Memphis? I haven't watched.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, sorry. There we go. Thank you for the robust talk. I appreciate that. Thoughts and prayers for WPC. Nothing's wrong with them. We just wanted to get it.
1,000%, boss.
It'll just be building Legos tomorrow night. Apparently, just 2-3 hours of building Legos.
I'm down to watch that.
As the year comes to an end, hopefully, the first week of next year, both shows will be together, maybe with some special guests. That'd be awesome to kind of hopefully run down the year, but that is just about to pass. But I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and a happy holidays and Happy New Year to everybody. We will see you in the new year. We appreciate you guys in ways that we don't have much time to express, but if you're listening to the sound of our voice every week, whether you're a new person here or you've been, one of the OGs for this show, we appreciate you. We genuinely appreciate you. I appreciate you two guys for doing this thing with me every week. Yeah, man, I guess we'll see everybody in the new year. Anything you guys want to say on our way out the door?
Thank you, one and all.
Thanks to everybody that's made the Alliance a family. We're not just guys that like wrestling or girls that like wrestling, we're a family.
Yeah.
Whether we've met in person, met online, this is my sanity. If I didn't have the Alliance family and all the Alliance members, I mean, between wrestling and music, that's my life. I need escape from music every once in a while, and this is my escape. So thank you, everyone.
Man, awesome. Like Jeremy said, that hits you right there. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all of you out there. And until next year, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Powerrr. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.